Focus on progress, not people. There comes a time in your life when you must stop living for people's approval and start living for your purpose. Too many dreams have been delayed. Too many callings have been silenced because someone was watching the crowd instead of walking their course. You can't reach destiny if you're distracted by opinions. You can't move forward if you're constantly turning your head to see who's talking about you. People will always have something to say. They will question your pace, doubt your calling, and misunderstand your growth. Hear me. Their confusion is not your confirmation. You don't need validation from those who were never assigned to your vision. Stop waiting for applause and start walking in alignment. Progress doesn't always look impressive to people. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it happens behind closed doors, but progress is still progress. Growth doesn't need an audience, it needs commitment. While others are gossiping, keep grinding. While others are comparing, keep climbing. Because when you focus on people, you lose power. But when you focus on progress, you step into purpose. Your journey isn't a popularity contest. It's a personal covenant. You weren't called to fit in. You were called to rise up. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them walk away. You don't need everyone to understand your process. You just need faith to keep moving even when no one's cheering. Every step you take toward becoming your best self matters. Even the small steps. Don't despise the days of small beginnings. Don't measure your worth by someone else's timeline. Keep showing up. Keep building, keep believing, because the moment you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose, you'll begin to see progress like never before. You don't owe the world explanations. You owe your destiny consistency. The ones who truly belong in your story will recognize your value in time. But until then, stay focused, stay faithful, stay firm. Focus on progress, not people, because your calling is too important to be wasted on comparison. There comes a point in every person's journey when they must make a choice to live for the applause of others or to live for the approval of their own purpose. The truth is, you cannot walk boldly into your destiny if you are still chained to people's opinions. Approval is one of the most deceptive prisons. It feels safe, it feels validating, it feels necessary, but it will quietly rob you of your authenticity. When you live for applause, your confidence will always depend on the noise of others. When the crowd claps, you feel alive. But when they go silent, you start to question your worth. That's not life, that's slavery to perception. The need for approval is rooted in insecurity, and insecurity is a thief that disguises itself as humility. It whispers, you're just trying to make everyone happy. But what it's really saying is, you're afraid to disappoint people. The problem is, every time you bend yourself to fit into someone else's expectation, you shrink your own identity. You trade authenticity for acceptance. You hide your truth behind a mask that looks like what they want to see. But masks may earn you temporary applause. They will never give you lasting peace. At some point, you have to decide, do I want to be understood or do I want to be fulfilled? Because those two rarely happen at the same time. The more you evolve, the less people will understand you. The deeper your calling, the fewer will agree with your direction. And that's okay. Growth is not about being liked. It's about being aligned. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. You're not called to be popular. You're called to be purposeful. When you stop seeking approval, you free yourself to live in the fullness of who you are meant to be. People's opinions are unstable. They will love you today and leave you tomorrow. They will cheer for you when you're rising and criticize you when you shine too bright. You can't build confidence on something so inconsistent. You must build it on conviction. Conviction says, even if they don't see it yet, I know what I'm called to do. Conviction says, I may be misunderstood now, but I won't be moved. Conviction is what keeps you walking when applause turns into silence. The truth is, you'll never please everyone. No matter what you do, someone will always think you should have done it differently. If you spend your life trying to satisfy every voice around you, you'll end up silencing your own. People will pull you in every direction until you lose sight of where you were headed. The moment you stop living for approval, you start reclaiming your direction, the noise fades, and suddenly you can hear the whisper of your purpose again. When you stop seeking approval, you no longer need to perform. You don't have to exaggerate who you are to be accepted. You don't have to hide your flaws to be loved. You start walking in honesty, and honesty brings peace. Peace is what approval can never give. Approval makes you restless, always wondering if you're enough, if you're doing enough, if you're saying enough. But when you live from purpose, you rest in the truth that you are enough as you are. You must learn to differentiate between people's expectations and your own essence. Expectations are external. They change with every mood, every trend, every opinion. But essence is internal. It remains constant even when the world shifts. You were designed with a purpose that cannot be voted on. The majority doesn't define your mission. Your Creator does. You don't need permission to be who you were born to be. You only need the courage to walk in it. The need for approval often stems from past rejection. Somewhere along the line, someone made you feel that your worth depended on their acceptance. But here's the truth. Rejection was never a reflection of your value. It was a redirection toward your authenticity. Every time someone walked away, it was life removing another layer of pretense. Rejection doesn't reduce your worth. It reveals your realness. You're not here to be everyone's choice. You're here to fulfill your purpose. Stop seeking approval from people who don't understand your vision. Some can't see your calling because it's not meant for their eyes. They were never given the blueprint of your destiny, so stop explaining yourself to those who can't comprehend your design. What you need is not their understanding, but your obedience to what you know is right. When you walk in obedience to your purpose, peace will always follow, even if applause doesn't. Freedom begins the moment you stop needing people to agree with your journey. You can appreciate advice without surrendering your direction. You can honor people's opinions without letting them override your intuition. Maturity is knowing how to listen, still choosing the path that aligns with your spirit. Because deep down, you already know what feels right. You already sense what your next step is. The only thing that stops you is fear of disapproval. But understand this: greatness has never been born out of group approval. Every innovator, every leader, every visionary had to stand alone before the world stood with them. They had to walk through seasons of misunderstanding, criticism, and solitude, not because they were wrong, but because they were ahead. Sometimes separation is preparation. The solitude that comes from not being approved is the soil where strength grows. Stop trying to convince people to see what they're not meant to see yet. You don't owe them proof. You owe your purpose progress. The more you evolve, the less you will fit into old spaces. The more you grow, the more you'll realize that peace is found in self-approval, not public validation. The challenge, your journey will feel lighter when you stop carrying the burden of pleasing everyone. So lift your head, square your shoulders, and walk with conviction. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are not overlooked, you are being refined. You don't need permission to grow, you just need faith to keep going. Stop waiting for someone to clap for you before you move. Sometimes the greatest applause comes from heaven, not from people. If you can learn to be content with that, you'll never again be held hostage by human approval. When you stop seeking approval, you gain something far more valuable: peace, purpose, and power. You begin to live not for applause, for alignment, not for popularity, but for authenticity. You stop chasing validation and start chasing vision. And in that freedom, you'll finally discover what real success feels like: not being liked by everyone, being true to yourself. Progress is one of the most misunderstood parts of growth. We live in a world that has taught us to measure success by visibility, by likes, by recognition, by the number of people watching what we do. The truth is, real progress doesn't always happen in public view. Sometimes your greatest growth takes place in silence, in solitude, in seasons when no one even knows what you're working on. Progress is not about being seen, it's about being transformed. Too many people are chasing public validation while neglecting private development. They want to be celebrated for outcomes they haven't yet cultivated in secret. But lasting success never starts on a stage. It begins in stillness, begins in the moments when you're putting in the work with no audience, no applause, no reward. The process that nobody sees is what produces the strength that everybody eventually admires. The fruit is visible, but the roots are always hidden. When you start understanding that progress is personal, you stop comparing your journey to others. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. You stop feeling behind because someone else appears ahead. What you see on the outside is never the full story. People post their victories but hide their valleys. They show the results but not the rough drafts. You don't know what it cost them, how long it took, how many tears were shed along the way. Comparison blinds you to your own blessings. You cannot fully celebrate your progress if your eyes are constantly on someone else's progress. Personal growth is quiet, deliberate, and sacred. It doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. It shows up in subtle shifts, in the way you handle pressure differently, in the way you forgive quicker, in the way you stay calm in chaos. Sometimes the progress is simply that you didn't break this time in the same place you used to. That's growth. Sometimes progress looks like walking away from arguments you used to engage in or choosing peace over proving a point. It may not look glamorous, but it's powerful. You must learn to honor your private victories. Celebrate the days when you showed up even when you didn't feel like it. Celebrate the mornings when you chose discipline over comfort. Celebrate the decisions no one will ever know you made, the choices that built your character in silence. These are the moments that shape you into the person capable of handling the public rewards when they eventually come. If you can stay faithful in obscurity, you will be trusted with visibility. There is a sacredness in hidden seasons. When God hides you, it's not punishment, it's preparation. He's protecting you from premature exposure. Some people want to be seen before they're ready, but visibility without maturity becomes vulnerability. Public platforms without private growth lead to collapse. That's why some rise quickly and fall even faster. They chase recognition before they develop foundation. The private process builds the strength to sustain what the public will demand. Progress is personal because no one else truly understands the cost of your journey. They see the destination, but not the detours, the outcome, but not the obstacles. You know the nights you cried, the fears you faced, the faith it took to keep going when nothing made sense. Don't let anyone minimize your progress because it doesn't look dramatic. What looks small to them might be monumental to you. Personal because it's yours. There will be seasons where it seems like nothing is happening. You'll question if you're moving forward at all. Even when it feels like you're standing still, transformation is happening beneath the surface. Think of a seed. It disappears into the dirt, unseen, uncelebrated, seemingly buried. But in reality, it's being planted. The darkness isn't its end, it's its beginning. Growth requires darkness. That seed, you too are being developed in private before you emerge in public. The problem is, we often confuse visibility with value. Just because no one sees your progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Hidden progress is still progress. Private victories are still victories. The world might not clap for you, but heaven is cheering. You're evolving in ways that can't be captured on a screen or explained in a caption. The real reward is not in being noticed, but in becoming. When progress is personal, your motivation shifts. You stop doing things to impress people and start doing them to improve yourself. You stop asking, who will notice? And start asking, who will I become? You begin to find joy in the process, not just the praise. That's when discipline becomes easier, consistency becomes natural, and growth becomes genuine. Because your focus is inward, not outward. You are no longer driven by recognition. You are fueled by purpose. Don't be discouraged if your journey doesn't look loud or spectacular. Growth rarely makes noise. A tree doesn't announce when it's growing, it just does. The same is true for you. Progress happens in layers, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Every small act of persistence is a piece of progress. Every quiet moment of learning, healing, or forgiving adds to your becoming. You don't have to broadcast every step, just take it. Some of the most powerful transformations happen in the background. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly in isolation, not under applause. It goes through an uncomfortable, unseen process that the world only appreciates once it's complete. Likewise, your private evolution will eventually manifest into visible elevation. Don't rush it. The cocoon season is necessary. It's where you develop wings strong enough to fly. Progress is not a performance, it's a process. You don't owe anyone updates about your journey. You don't have to explain your pace or justify your pauses. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to heal slowly, build quietly, and rise steadily. Because the only one who needs to understand your process is you. As long as you keep moving, even if it's inch by inch, you are progressing. When you truly internalize this truth, peace replaces pressure. You no longer need to compete or compare. You learn to trust that every season serves a purpose. The hidden, the hard, and the humbling. You realize that progress isn't always visible, but it's always valuable. What matters most is that you are becoming stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your calling every day. So keep going, even when no one's watching. Keep growing, even when no one's clapping. Enough. Keep believing in the process, even when the progress seems invisible. Because someday, what was personal will become powerful. What was hidden will become fruitful. And when that time comes, the world will see what you've known all along. That real progress doesn't need publicity to be powerful. Progress is personal, not public. And the quiet work you're doing in this season is preparing you for the visible blessings in the next. Don't lose heart because you're unseen. That's exactly where your strength is being built. Your growth may not be trending, but it's transforming you. And in the end, that's what truly matters. One of the greatest traps that can steal your peace, derail your purpose, and silence your progress is comparison. Comparison is the silent thief of joy and the quiet assassin of destiny. It sneaks into your thoughts, whispering that you're not doing enough, not growing fast enough, not achieving as much as others. It convinces you that what you have isn't enough, who you are isn't enough, and where you are isn't enough. But the truth is, comparison blinds you to the beauty of your own journey and paralyzes you from walking in your unique calling. Every person has their own path, their own pace, and their own process. Your story was never meant to be identical to anyone else's. Yet in a world driven by social media, where everyone displays their highlight reel, it's easy to lose sight of that. You see others succeeding, celebrating, and shining, and you begin to question your own progress. You start to measure your worth by someone else's wins, forgetting that their chapter 20 may be your chapter 2. What you see is often the result of years of unseen effort, struggle, and persistence. When you compare your beginning to someone else's middle, you rob yourself of peace and perspective. Comparison doesn't just distract you, it distorts your vision. It makes you focus on what others have instead of what you're building. It causes you to doubt your own gifts, to belittle your own progress, and to question your own path. You begin to chase things that were never meant for you just because someone else has them. You start adjusting your calling to match their image, not realizing that imitation is the enemy of purpose. The moment you try to live someone else's story, you lose connection with your own assignment. You were never designed to be a copy. You were created as an original with unique gifts, talents, and experiences that no one else can replicate. Your journey is handcrafted for your growth. That means your challenges, your timing, and even your delays are not mistakes. They're part of your molding. When you start to accept that your process is different, you stop resenting your path and start respecting it. Because what's meant for you will never pass you by. But you can miss it if you're too busy looking over at someone else's lane. When a runner keeps looking sideways to see what others are doing, they lose focus, slow down, and risk stumbling. The fastest way to lose momentum is to take your eyes off your finish line. The same applies in life. Every time you look at what someone else is achieving, you lose energy for what you were called to accomplish. You can't run your race while watching another person's pace. Focus is the fuel for fulfillment. Comparison drains it dry. What makes comparison so dangerous is that it makes you ungrateful for what you already have. You start to overlook your blessings because you're staring at someone else's breakthrough. You stop appreciating your progress because you're obsessed with their platform, gratitude turns to resentment, and peace turns to pressure. You start to feel like you're behind when, in reality, you're right where you need to be. The more you focus on what others are doing, the less you see what God is doing in you. You have no idea what battles other people are fighting behind their success. You see their smiles, but not their struggles, their triumphs, but not their tears. Some of the people you envy would trade everything just to have your peace, your strength, or your freedom. That's why comparison is unfair. It's based on partial information. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You're measuring your internal battles against their external presentation. It's not a fair measurement, and it will never be fulfilling. Every calling comes with its own cross. Every blessing carries its own burden. You may want their platform, but can you carry their pressure? You may admire their influence, but can you endure their isolation? You may desire their success. Can you handle their sacrifices? You see, when God designed your life, He equipped you with exactly what you need for your specific purpose. That means you're not missing anything necessary for your calling. You don't need to borrow someone else's gifts or mimic their path. Everything you need to fulfill your destiny is already within you. It just needs to be developed, not compared. The danger of comparison is that it keeps you from appreciating your own growth. Progress doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. I challenge you to love enough and care enough. Maybe you're not where you want to be yet, but you're further than you were. Maybe you haven't achieved everything you dream of. You've overcome things that once broke you. That's progress. When you measure your journey by your own growth instead of someone else's pace, you begin to see how much you've truly evolved. Learn to celebrate others without questioning yourself. Just because someone else is winning doesn't mean you're losing. Life isn't a competition, it's a collaboration. There's enough purpose, success, and opportunity for everyone. When you learn to clap for others, you make room for your own moment to come. Envy closes the door to growth. Gratitude keeps it open. Celebrate them while still believing in your time, because when it's your turn, you'll want others to celebrate you too. Don't let comparison make you bitter. Let it make you better. Use it as motivation, not measurement. Other people's success reminds you of what's possible, not of what you lack. Inspiration is healthy, insecurity is toxic. The difference lies in your focus. If seeing others win fuels your faith, you're growing. But if it makes you question your worth, you're comparing. Choose inspiration over insecurity every single time. Remember that your calling is not a competition. You're not racing anyone else. You're racing time, purpose, and potential. Your goal is not to arrive first, it's to arrive faithful. The only question that truly matters is, am I growing into who I was created to be? That's it. Every season has its own purpose. Some seasons are for planting, some for pruning, some for harvest. Don't compare your planting season to someone else's harvest. What looks like stillness now might be the foundation for the next breakthrough. There's a freedom that comes when you stop comparing. You start to walk lighter. You begin to create from authenticity instead of anxiety. You stop performing for approval and start producing from peace. That's when your gifts flourish, because you're no longer trying to be someone else. You're finally being yourself. So today, release the pressure to keep up with anyone else. Release the urge to measure your value by visibility. You don't need to run faster. You just need to keep moving in your lane. The same God who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Your timing is perfect for your purpose. Stay consistent, stay patient, and stay focused. Comparison will cripple your calling if you let it. It will make you doubt what you've been designed to do. But when you fix your eyes on your purpose, you regain your power, you rediscover your pace, you reconnect with your peace. Don't let someone else's path make you question your own. You were born with something this world needs, and no comparison can change that truth. Keep your focus on your calling, your growth, and your journey, because your value was never meant to be measured by how you stack up against others. It was meant to be revealed through how you show up as yourself. There will always be noise, the noise of opinions, the noise of assumptions, the noise of criticism, and the noise of judgment. People will always have something to say about how you live, how you move, how you dream, and how you grow. If you allow every voice around you to become louder than the voice within you, you will lose direction, clarity, and peace. At some point, you have to decide that your purpose is too precious to be drowned out by opinions that don't understand it. You must learn the art of silence, not the silence of weakness, but the silence of wisdom. Everyone has an opinion, but not everyone has insight. Most people speak from the limits of their own experiences, not from the depth of your purpose. They can only see from where they stand, and if they can't see what you see, their advice will always sound like doubt. That's why you cannot let every voice have access to your vision. If you allow too many opinions to shape your direction, you'll end up walking in circles. You'll spend your life trying to please people who were never meant to understand your assignment. You must understand that every great dream will attract critics. Every bold move will invite opinions. The moment you decide to rise above average, you become a target for those who are comfortable staying there. People criticize what they don't comprehend, and they judge what they can't relate to. Sometimes their opinions are not about you at all. They're reflections of their own fears, limitations, and insecurities. They can't see your potential because they stopped believing in their own. When you start to silence the noise of opinion, you regain control over your own voice. You start hearing your intuition again. You begin to recognize the whispers of wisdom that were buried under the chaos of commentary. It's not that other voices stop existing. It's that they lose their power over you. You realize that not every opinion deserves a reaction. Not every comment needs a response, and not every judgment requires justification. Silence becomes your shield and peace becomes your proof. The problem with listening to too many opinions is that it fragments your focus. One person tells you to go left, another says go right, and before you know it, you're stuck in the middle, paralyzed by indecision. You start second guessing what you already knew was right for you. When you quiet the external noise, you begin to hear the internal truth. Your purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. It speaks through peace, through conviction, through that deep sense of knowing that doesn't always make sense to others but feels right to you. You don't need everyone to agree with you to move forward. Agreement is not the same as alignment. Some people will agree with you because it benefits them, not because they believe in you. And others will disagree with you because your growth threatens their comfort. You can't base your direction on their approval or disapproval. If you do, you'll spend your life chasing consensus instead of calling. True leadership, true growth, and true fulfillment require you to walk confidently even when you walk alone. Silencing the noise doesn't mean you stop listening to wisdom. It means you become selective about your sources. It means you stop feeding your mind with voices that drain your faith. It means you surround yourself with those who speak life, not fear, with those who challenge you to grow, not conform. Because not every voice that speaks into your life is meant to stay in your life. Some voices are seeds, others are weeds. You have to know which ones to water and which ones to uproot. Sometimes the loudest opinions come from those who've never built anything themselves, tell you what you should do while they sit safely on the sidelines. They'll criticize your risk while protecting their comfort. They'll doubt your dream because they never had the courage to pursue their own. Don't take direction from people who've never been where you're going. Advice without experience is just noise, and you don't have time to live your life according to someone else's fear. There's power in quiet confidence, in knowing who you are, what you're called to do, and where you're headed without needing validation to keep moving. When you know your purpose, you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop defending your path to those who were never meant to walk it. Some people will never understand your decisions because they weren't part of the prayer that birthed them. That's why it's okay if they don't get it. You don't owe them clarity. You owe yourself consistency. The world will always have opinions, but you have the choice to rise above them. Every time you respond to negativity, you give it energy. Every time you explain yourself to critics, you drain your strength. Silence doesn't mean surrender. It means strategy. It's knowing when to speak and when to let your results speak for you. Your success will silence more opinions than your arguments ever could. Learn to find stillness in the storm. Learn to stand tall when the world whispers doubts around you. Let the noise motivate you, not move you. Let it remind you that your path is worth protecting. Because when you're doing something meaningful, people will always have something to say. The noise is proof that you're making progress. People don't talk about, and those who aren't doing anything significant. So if they're talking, it's because you're moving. In a world addicted to attention, silence is strength. When you don't react to every opinion, you demonstrate maturity. When you don't chase approval, you display confidence. When you don't defend every decision, you reveal self-assurance. Loudest voice in the room isn't always the most powerful. Sometimes it's the one that refuses to be moved by the noise. Silence also allows you to protect your peace. Peace is the foundation of progress. You can't create, build, or grow in chaos. When you stop feeding on opinions, your mind clears, your heart stabilizes. You start to think from purpose, not pressure. And that's when your creativity flourishes. That's when you start moving from conviction instead of confusion. There will always be people who misunderstand your motives, misinterpret your message, or minimize your mission. Don't waste time correcting them. Truth always reveals itself over time. What's done in authenticity will always outlast what's said in assumption. Let your consistency be your answer. Let your peace be your defense. Let your progress be your proof. Silencing the noise of opinion is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about staying rooted in who you are while the world tries to sway you in every direction. It's about understanding that purpose doesn't require permission. You can't fulfill your destiny if you're distracted by every echo around you. You have to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. So choose today to turn down the volume of outside voices. Disconnect from the chatter that confuses your clarity. Walk quietly. Work faithfully. Trust that the same people who doubted you will one day witness what your silence was preparing. Let them talk while you build. Let them assume while you grow. Let them criticize while you climb. There comes a moment in every journey when you must decide what you truly value, being seen or being steadfast. Many people start with fire in their hearts, passion in their hands, vision in their minds, but as soon as the applause fades, they stop. They lose motivation when recognition disappears. True success is not born in moments of praise, it's built in seasons of persistence. Recognition might bring you attention, but consistency will bring you transformation. You see, anyone can start, but not everyone finishes. It's easy to be motivated when people are watching, but real growth happens when no one notices. The work you do when no one's clapping is what determines what kind of foundation you're building. Recognition can be a trap if you let it define your drive. Because the moment people stop cheering, your purpose will feel like it's losing power. But purpose was never meant to be powered by people. It's fueled by conviction. Consistency is what separates dreamers from doers. It's the quiet commitment to keep showing up, even when the results are invisible. It's choosing discipline over desire, purpose over popularity, progress over applause. It's waking up every day and doing what's necessary, not what's noticeable. Because what's built in private will always echo in public. Every success story you admire is rooted in a season of unseen faithfulness. When you live for recognition, you start performing instead of progressing. You start chasing approval instead of advancement. You start measuring your worth by visibility instead of value. And that's a dangerous trade because recognition is fleeting. The same crowd that celebrates you today can forget you tomorrow. But consistency, that's something no one can take from you. When you're consistent, you build enough, you build momentum, you build credibility, you build strength. There will be days when it feels like your efforts don't matter. Days when you give your best and no one acknowledges it. Days when you pour your heart out and still go unnoticed. Remember this, Silence doesn't mean insignificance. Hidden seasons are holy seasons. It's where character is shaped and endurance is refined. When you keep showing up in the dark, you're proven to life that you can be trusted with the light. Consistency doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels repetitive, tiring, and unrewarding, but that's where growth happens. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. The difference between people who dream and people who achieve is often the willingness to do the same small, meaningful actions day after day. Brick by brick, step by step, moment by moment. That's how greatness is built, not in bursts of brilliance, but in the quiet rhythm of steady faithfulness. Recognition is loud but fleeting. Consistency is quiet but lasting. The world may not notice your daily efforts now, but one day, those efforts will speak louder than any praise could. What you repeat, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you strengthen. And what you strengthen eventually becomes unstoppable. Every small action compounds over time. Every disciplined day deposits something into your destiny. It's easy to want the spotlight, but it's the shadows that shape you. The spotlight reveals you, but the shadows refine you. Too many people rush to be seen before they're stable. They crave the stage before they've built the stamina. But what's exposed too early collapses too easily. Consistency prepares you for the weight of visibility. It teaches you to handle pressure, to remain grounded, to move with purpose even when eyes are on you. You must learn to find fulfillment in faithfulness, not fame. Because real success is not measured by applause, it's measured by impact, and impact is the result of consistency. Recognition celebrates moments. Consistency builds legacies. The people who make a lasting difference are rarely the loudest. They're the ones who quietly kept going when others quit. Don't confuse being overlooked with being unimportant. Some of your greatest work will never get public credit. Some of your most meaningful contributions will never trend. But if you're doing it with purpose, it's still powerful. The unseen effort is what builds the visible results. The hidden roots are what sustain the visible tree. Recognition might make you feel appreciated. Consistency makes you unshakable. Think about how the sun rises every morning, not for applause, not for attention, because that's what it's designed to do. The sun's consistency brings life, growth, and warmth to everything it touches. That's the power of steady faithfulness. You don't have to be loud to be impactful. You just have to be faithful to your purpose. There will be seasons when you question if it's worth it, when it feels like no one cares, no one notices, no one values what you're doing. That's when you must remember why you started. You didn't begin to be seen. You began to make a difference. You didn't start for recognition. You started for purpose. And purpose always requires perseverance. Consistency demands humility. It's choosing to keep showing up even when it doesn't boost your ego. It's doing what's right when it's not rewarded. It's working with integrity when no one's watching. That's where strength is born. Not in the applause, but in the anonymity. Because when you're consistent in private, you won't crumble under pressure in public. Don't rush your recognition. Let your work speak for you in time. You don't need to announce your progress, just keep building. Let your results become the loudest response. Recognition may open doors, consistency keeps them open. Recognition may start your momentum, but consistency sustains it. Anyone can shine once, but only the consistent glow forever. In a world that glorifies quick success, be someone who honors steady progress. The people who seem to rise overnight spent years doing what others didn't see. They stayed committed when it wasn't convenient. They kept working when no one was watching. And when their moment came, they were ready, not because of luck, but because of longevity. When you live for recognition, you'll always be chasing the next validation, the next compliment. But when you live for consistency, you'll always be chasing growth, and growth never runs out. A recognition fades, growth compounds. The applause may stop, but progress never does. So keep showing up, even when the room is empty. Keep creating, even when no one praises you. Keep working, even when it feels unnoticed. Because everything you're doing in silence is setting you up for something in season. One day, the same people who overlooked your consistency will be the ones celebrating your results. Don't let the lack of recognition make you forget your reason. Keep watering your vision. Keep tending your garden. Keep pressing forward. The results may not show today. They're growing roots that will sustain tomorrow's fruit. When you choose consistency over recognition, you're not just building success, you're building substance. And substance will always outlast applause. Because when the noise fades, when the spotlight shifts, and when people move on, it's your consistency that will still be standing. There will come a time in your life when you must walk alone, when the people you thought would support you begin to question your dreams, when your vision is misunderstood, and when your purpose seems too big for others to comprehend. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. Either you slow down to gain their approval, or you keep moving forward in faith. Your destiny doesn't need their validation. You were not created to convince anyone of your calling. You were created to complete it. So many people lose momentum trying to make others understand what God or life has already made clear within them. They pause their purpose to explain themselves to those who were never meant to see what they see. But not everyone is meant to understand your vision because it wasn't revealed to them. It was revealed to you. You don't need a crowd to confirm what's already been whispered to your spirit. You don't need applause to affirm your assignment. The truth is, validation feels good, but it's temporary. Approval can make you feel accepted. It cannot sustain your destiny. Because every time you rely on people's validation, you give them the power to determine your direction. And people are fickle. They can celebrate you one day and criticize you the next. If your confidence is rooted in their opinion, your peace will always be unstable. You must learn to move even when no one claps. You must believe even when no one agrees. Destiny demands courage, the courage to walk in the dark with no guarantee that others will follow. Sometimes walking in your purpose means being misunderstood even by those closest to you. But that's the price of authenticity. You cannot live out your calling and stay comfortable in people's approval at the same time. Many never fulfill their purpose because they spend too much time trying to be accepted instead of being aligned. They trade authenticity for acceptance, uniqueness for uniformity. But destiny doesn't thrive in the crowd. It grows in conviction. It's born when you stop explaining and start executing. Stop seeking validation and start walking in vision. People will doubt what they don't understand. They will question what they cannot see. They will criticize what they cannot control. But their disbelief doesn't disqualify your destiny. Their misunderstanding doesn't make your mission any less meaningful. Their silence doesn't mean you're off track. It just means your journey is yours, and sometimes it will only make sense to you. You were not called to fit in. You were chosen to stand out. Standing out means being willing to walk alone sometimes. It means trusting your inner voice when external voices go quiet. It means believing in what's unseen, even when others call it unrealistic. Your destiny was written long before anyone had an opinion about it. You don't need a signature from people to start what's already signed by purpose. Validation can become a prison if you let it. You'll start tailoring your actions to gain approval rather than living by conviction. You'll measure your worth by reactions rather than results. Freedom comes when you no longer need people to agree with what you already know is true. You don't need to prove your purpose. You just need to walk in it. Some people won't understand your choices because they weren't meant to live your life. I challenge you to love enough. They weren't given your vision, calling your battles, or your blessings. They weren't there in the moments when you had to choose faith over fear, discipline over doubt, or progress over comfort. So why seek validation from people who haven't walked your path? Your destiny is personal. It's between you and the one who gave it to you. It's shaped by your experiences, your pain, your lessons, and your perseverance. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you've decided to rise, rebuild, or restart. You don't need their permission to pursue peace, to chase purpose, or to evolve. The ones who truly believe in you won't need explanations. They'll see your growth and respect your grind. There's a quiet strength in walking forward without needing applause. When you stop chasing validation, you start operating from authenticity. You no longer move out of fear of judgment, but out of clarity of mission. That's when real progress begins. That's when you begin to attract the right people. People who recognize your light, not because you demanded attention, because you stayed consistent in your purpose. Every time you seek validation, you hand over a piece of your power. You allow others to dictate how far and how fast you can go. But when you decide to move without approval, you reclaim that power. You remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by who believes in you. It's determined by what you believe about yourself. Destiny often begins in silence. It's built in the quiet places where no one's watching, where you're questioning if what you're doing even matters. But every seed grows underground before it breaks the surface. Don't mistake hiddenness for failure. That's preparation. That's growth. That's the season where your roots are being strengthened so that when you rise, you won't fall when winds of doubt blow. When you finally reach the place you were meant to be, you'll realize why not everyone could go with you. Some people's validation was never meant to sustain you because their vision was too small to hold your calling. Destiny requires detachment from people, from opinions, from the need to be understood. You have to be willing to move forward even when others don't see what you see. The truth is, purpose doesn't always make sense at first, even to you. There will be times when you question yourself, when fear whispers that you're not enough, when the silence feels like rejection. But remember, silence is not the absence of support. It's the space where strength is built. Your destiny isn't delayed just because no one's cheering. Keep moving, keep building, keep believing. The ones who truly matter will recognize your purpose not because you explained it to them, but because they'll see it manifest in time. You don't need to defend your dream. You don't need to argue your assignment. Just do the work. Let your results speak. Let your transformation testify. Because eventually, the same people who doubted your calling will witness your becoming. There's something powerful about walking in confidence without consensus. It confuses people who rely on popularity to move forward. But that's the beauty of destiny. It doesn't require agreement, only obedience. When you trust your inner voice, when you keep going despite opposition, you begin to align with something greater than approval. You align with purpose itself. And when you reach that place, peace replaces pressure. You stop needing validation because you've realized that your worth was never up for debate. You were enough before they believed in you. You'll still be enough if they never do. So stop waiting for someone to say you're ready. Stop waiting for applause to move forward. Stop waiting for permission to be who you were born to be. The world doesn't have to understand your process to witness your progress. Your destiny is already validated by the purpose within you. Keep walking in confidence. Keep trusting your direction. Keep believing even when you're the only one who does, because destiny doesn't require validation. It requires faith. And when you operate from faith, no opinion, no doubt, and no rejection can stop what's meant for you. You are not here to be approved. You are here to be impactful. You don't need their validation. You already have your confirmation. Your destiny is yours. Walk in it boldly.